Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Today, you and I are going to determine if the 10 most popular, most searched for, most voted on, most reviewed fragrances for men of the past 10 years are actually any good. You would think yes, that's why they're popular, but we'll determine it today. I'll have them linked in the description in case you want to check them out down there with their ranking from 10 up to 1, with 1 being the most popular. Of course, we are going based off of the most popular fragrances on Fragrantica for men from 2014 to this year, 2023, because 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, that's 10, that's a decade. Technically, it's like 9.5 years, but who cares? As always, if you would like some codes to some different websites where you can save money on niche fragrances, indie fragrances, designer fragrances, clone fragrances, pause the video, use these codes. And my fragrances, came right there, they're beautiful. Blue Ridge, Jet Black Enigma, Terra Nova, all 3 of those available in every Perfumania and every fragrance outlet store in the United States. Go into the stores, check them out, or order them online, which is also linked below. So the way that we're doing this is just the most popular across the entire decade. So it's not the #1 most popular of 2014, then the #1 most popular of 2015, then the #1 most popular of 2016. We could do that, but we're not. Instead, it's just the fragrances that are, as of now, the most popular across the entire time frame that we're talking about. And I would imagine that as time goes, some of these fragrances get knocked down the list a little bit as new fragrances come up. But enough of all that, let's go ahead and jump into it with the number 10 fragrance. This guy, the one Eau de Parfum. Part of me is slightly surprised to see it still in the top 10 because while this was absolutely massive when it came out, and for quite a while after that, people still really hyped it up, talked about it, especially over the past few years, I feel like it's kind of slacked off a little bit just as far as how much of a groundswell there is behind it, which you would expect that because it has been out for quite a while, but still interesting to see it still clinging on to the top 10 of this past decade. But if you do move it out a little bit further, then it drops down out of the top 10. Love the fragrance though. Truly though, I don't mind to see this in any top 10 list because I think it smells fantastic. Other than maybe top 10 turdiest fragrances, I think maybe I wouldn't like to see this in that one, but anything that's a positive list, yeah, I think it's great. One of the best date night fragrances ever, fantastic release. So top 10, yes, I agree, very nice. Top 10 most popular, probably not for too much longer. I could see that one getting bumped down pretty quick. Not that I think it deserves to be bumped down, because it don't. And kind of play along with me here as we go. Determine which ones you think should be bumped down, what they should be replaced with, and we'll kind of compare that a little bit as we go as well. Maybe some fragrances that should be up in the top 10 that aren't, just based off my own personal opinion. Number 9 is this. Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. Not a surprise at all. Bleu de Chanel is the #2 best-selling men's fragrance line in the US, so you would expect it to pretty easily, pretty comfortably be in the top 10 of the past decade. And I should say that it's the top 10 of the fragrances that have been released in the past decade, in case I wasn't clear enough before. But yeah, Bleu de Chanel, the 2nd best-selling men's fragrance line. We all know it. We all love it, right? The Eau de Parfum is generally viewed, at least by more people, as the best of the line. Kind of the Goldilocks fragrance, if you want to call it that. It does everything and it does it all very well. Really versatile, you can wear it in any situation. That one in the top 10 most popular. Like I said, 2nd best-selling fragrance line in the US. It makes sense. Number 8 is Dylan Blue. Yeah, Dylan Blue. So this one's a bit of a surprise. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's a blue fragrance. Blue fragrances are generally scents that are easygoing, and having an easygoing scent means that you would expect more people to buy it, smell it, talk about it, rate it, hence the popularity. But Dylan Blue over Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum, don't know about that. It's a nice semi-discount blue fragrance in that it's cheaper than the big dogs in the blue fragrance sphere. Bleu de Chanel, Sauvage, why? I just don't know that it should be there. But it is, so I guess it doesn't matter what I think, but I think definitely I would slide that below Bleu de Chanel, below the one Eau de Parfum, especially if we're talking about overall impact. I think the one Eau de Parfum is a much bigger release on the whole across the industry than Dylan Blue is, but according to the votes and everything right now, that's more popular. Number 7 is Le Male de Parfum. Big old hype beast, this one of the more popular releases over the past few years. So not a surprise to see this one cracking into the top 10. What maybe is a surprise is some of the new releases, especially really hyped ones over the past, we'll call it 4 or 5 years, not really cracking the top 10. So it's the fragrances released before that are in the top 10. Obviously they've been out longer, so they've had more of a chance to accumulate votes and things like that. But still yet, you would think some of those would have cracked into the top 10, especially as the community gets bigger and more people do go online and vote for these things. But we'll talk about that more, I guess, as we go along. Le Male de Parfum, I absolutely think this should be in the top 10 because ultimately through Fragrantica, we're not talking about the fragrance buying public in general. If you want to go by what's most popular there, you would basically just take a look at my top 20 bestsellers list that I did, the Prestige bestsellers list, because that has for 2022 the best-selling fragrances. Actually, it was broken into 2 lists, 20 through 11 and 10 through 1. And that will show you what's truly best-selling. So that's separate than what we're talking about here. Here we're talking about essentially the fragrance community, things that people who are really into fragrances are looking up. So not bestsellers, although some of these are bestsellers. So yeah. Le Male de Parfum though, love this stuff. Great release, awesome flanker. Le Male Elixir is also really heckin' good. So it wouldn't surprise me if in a year or two that one kind of moves into the top 10 and starts bumping things down. As of right now, it's the #1 most popular fragrance released this year on that website. Next up is Spice Bomb Extreme. This one I could see falling in the future. Not that it's a bad fragrance. I really enjoy it. Great performance, big compliment factor. It's just you do start to wonder if like a fragrance hits, you know, these huge levels of hype, whether it can be sustained. And as time goes on and the fragrance, you know, gets more and more in the rear view mirror as far as the release date goes of when it came out and new things are coming out and, you know, becoming more popular, getting more hype, if this doesn't start to trickle down the list a little bit. Still though, for me, as far as, you know, the impact on the industry, all that stuff, I would put Bleu de Chanel up here over Spice Bomb. I don't feel as strongly about this needing to be moved down as I do Dylan Blue needing to be moved down, but I don't feel super strongly either. After that, we have Sauvage. Dior Sauvage Eau de Toilette. Best-selling fragrance in the United States as far as the line of fragrances goes. Sauvage Eau de Toilette, Eau de Parfum especially, and also Elixir. Do find it interesting that Sauvage is way up here. Well, I say way up here. There are things above it, of course, but way up here, and Bleu de Chanel is way down there. But that is Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum, so it's not exactly apples to apples. But so Sauvage, no matter what you think about it, you can hate this stuff and you can despise it. It is everywhere. Again, best-selling fragrance line, extremely popular, huge versatility, big compliment factor. It does have that metallic ambroxan, but it's very easy to wear, and it's a good bang for your buck, honestly, all things considered. So this one I would expect to be up there, and frankly, based off of the impact of this one and how long it's been out, I would expect it to be higher, actually. #4 is Sauvage Elixir, which goes to show you the hype level, the just unbridled love that this thing got, that it is above the original Sauvage. Even though this has been out for so much longer than Elixir, this is above that as far as the overall popularity on the website. And as far as my personal taste goes, I like Sauvage Elixir more. That being said, if you came up and you asked me, hey, which of these was a more important release? I would say that one, Sauvage Eau de Toilette. But at the same time, even though this is like a completely different thing, Sauvage Elixir came out and did really well, and now everybody has an Elixir. I mean, I mentioned Le Male Elixir, so nothing else. Sauvage Elixir made the Elixir flanker name super cool, and now everybody wants one. Oof, that is freaking nice. Strong, but nice. Do I think it should be all the way up here? I don't know. Like I said, I really love this stuff. Yeah, I guess I'm happy. #3, Profumo. Acqua di Gio Profumo, far and away the most loved Acqua di Gio flanker that has come out ever, as far as the fragrance community goes. I mean, some people have hearkened back to Acqua di Gio Essenza, and they'll be like, oh, Essenza was the best. It was the best. But that one was discontinued quite a while ago. So a lot of people who started getting into fragrances here more recently have never smell to scent them. And this bad boy is pretty much replaced by Acqua di Gio Parfum. And it is kind of funny seeing how things have changed as time has gone on. Le Male Elixir, pretty comfortably at this point, is the fragrance of the year. I mean, if you were going to call it right now as far as the community goes and say, what's the biggest designer release of the year? It'd be that one. Acqua di Gio Parfum came out and, you know, a little bit of hype behind it, if you want to call it that, people getting excited for it, but not on the level of Le Male. And it's actually really, really similar to this one as far as how it smells. Acqua di Gio Parfum and Acqua di Gio Profumo, really similar. But this one is the one that got all that love. So I don't know if it's because the new one is not new enough, not different enough, or if there's a little bit of pushback because people would rather it just stay as it always has been. Parfum not quite as popular as Profumo, and we may be looking 5 years from now at the last decade then, and Parfum isn't even close to the top 10. So we'll see. Number 2 is why Eau de Parfum. I say that like I'm super surprised. I mean, I really enjoy it. A lot of you out there really enjoy it, but it's just one of those things where you think back on the last decade, all those fragrances that have come out, and then this one has beaten everything except for one. Pretty wild. Crushed Sauvage, Sauvage Elixir, Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum, Dylan Blue. It sits alone as the king of the blue fragrances here. I know a lot of you out there would strongly disagree with that, and others would strongly agree, but there it is, your blue fragrance master standing over his fallen bows. Now, really quickly, I'm gonna run through some of the other popular fragrances from the past decade that did not make the top 10, but that were pretty close, that maybe you would think those should have been put in here and some of these should have been removed. Basically, you just think they deserved more love, more attention, so that their popularity would have risen up enough to knock these off. So we'll just run through some of those. Prada L'Homme, of course, very soapy, clean, great office fragrance. Ultramall from Jean Paul Gaultier, which makes sense for it not to be in the top 10. That was one of those fragrances that hit hard. Everybody was talking about it, and then it kind of fell off as time went on. So it hasn't sustained as much of that popularity as some of these. Gentleman Eau de Parfum Reserve Privé. That one was the most popular fragrance release of that year, if I recall correctly, on Fragrantica anyway. Mont Blanc Explorer, which I could see that one not being in the top 10 because it is, at the end of the day, just an Aventus style fragrance. That shouldn't be in the top 10, right? Noir Extreme from Tom Ford. Light Blue Eau Intense from Dolce & Gabbana, pretty big release. Dior Homme Parfum. Milano Nuit Bleu Electrique, but I think Bleu Electrique would have made the top 10 if you could still find it in the US. That is the weirdest release I think I've ever seen as far as big US designer releases goes. Here, gone, at least again in the US. Code Absolu, The Most Wanted, just a whole bunch of fragrances, a whole bunch, but yeah, all those were left out. They didn't quite crack into the top 10. But the number 1 fragrance, which has far and away just annihilated these, just destroyed these. Club de Nuit Intense. There's your number 1. It's just an Aventus clone. I mean, you can't really deny Club de Nuit Intense, right? As far as the popularity goes. It's been talked about ad nauseum. Everybody knows it has the performance, the opening a little rough. As it dries down, it smells better. In the air, it's good. It's a compliment puller. It's cheap. If you don't want to pay for Aventus, there you go. And this had, and one of the big things that this had going for it, one of the biggest things, is that it was really, for a lot of people, the first Aventus clone to market that actually did it competently. Because there were Aventus clones before this one, but most of them were pretty terrible. They were kind of garbaggio. Then this one comes out, it's got the performance, the lasting power, the compliment factor, the cheap factor, the cheap factor. And then it comes out with, you know, different flankers, the limited edition, the Parfum, the Eau de Parfum, and then the whole Club de Nuit line blows up. So it's a big release. It's done a lot of things. And it's one of the fragrances that really helped kick off clones in a huge way in the US market, because it started making big bucks, and then you got more and more and more that started coming out in the US, you know, being available here in the US. Quality's gone up exponentially. For me, on a personal level, would I put this here over these? No, but no denying the popularity of this one is there. It's crushed. Just crushed. An underdog of sorts, isn't it? It's the cheapest one here by a wide margin. Actually plays into its strengths though. So there we go. Those are the top 10 most popular of the past decade. You gotta let me know which of these you would just boot out, kick it to the curb, and what you'd replace them with. And if you hate this, if you hate the way that this is lined up, guys, you got yourselves to blame. Or Fragrantica, blame them. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.